Welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and capital raisers in the world to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. If what you're after is having it all, if what you desire is becoming the best version you can be across all areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and financially, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best of the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, knowledge, experience, and skills so that you can go out and crush it financially and across all areas of your life. Grab pencil and paper, sit back, enjoy, and you are welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. Hello, Modern Kings. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview some of the most successful, experienced real estate investors, capital raisers, operators, underwriters in the world to provide you with the tool sets, the mindset, and the skill sets for you to conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as a wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. Super excited today that I have a modern king with me here. I get to talk to him about real estate and life and everything. His name is Gideon Pfeffer, right? Gideon Pfeffer. He's a husband, father, entrepreneur, and like we can see on the background, he buys apartment buildings. So thank you very much for being here, Gideon. I really appreciate it, man. And you're welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I'm really happy to be here. I love your message, and I'm happy to chat with you today.
Thanks, same. So the first thing that I do with my guest is I ask them to walk us through their real estate investing journey in 75 seconds or less.
Okay. I got out of college and started writing mortgages for houses. With some extra money that I made, I invested in a house with a friend. We sold that house and we bought more houses. That turned into a few thousand houses. Then I switched over to multifamily with a goal that in 2017, I switched over to multifamily with a goal to buy 5,000 units in 5 years, and I bought 8,000 units. And now I'm on my path to 20,000 units.
8,000 units in 5 years. So you cool. All right, but as much as I'm like I want to go into that right away, I want to go before that, right? So out of college you went into mortgages. So what did you go to college for? Like what did you graduate as?
So I think it's important to say that, and I'm really impressed and have almost a little envy of people like yourself who are so young with a path and a plan, right? I didn't always know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I went to college thinking that I wanted to get into communications because I really liked photography. And I didn't get into the communications school. I went to Syracuse University, the number one communications school in the country. I didn't get in, so I was undeclared for the first 2 years, and I didn't know what to do. My friend said, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I know I want to be a successful businessman. And they're like, well, then you should be in the business school. And so I declared in the business school and chose finance as my major. So I graduated with a degree in finance, and I did not have a plan. Well, I did internships. I was in New York. I did internships down on Wall Street. I'd expected to be in Manhattan. I graduated undergrad in 2002, and the dot-com bubble had just burst. So we were going through a little recession at that time. And I got an opportunity to move out to Michigan and and start a mortgage company with a successful entrepreneur who had built a mortgage company and sold it. So he was starting a new one, and I got the opportunity to go out and be through a connection I made in college to be this guy's right-hand man. And so that's what I did. I ended up out in Michigan, in a state I'd never been, nor thought I would ever be in, doing residential mortgages.
What an incredible opportunity, man. And just to before I ask something more about that journey, and that incredible opportunity that you got to build another successful mortgage company with this entrepreneur that you just mentioned. I want to talk briefly about having a clear path, right? Like, so that's been a trait of mine since I was 18. And I think I know what it is. I think I know what the key to knowing what you want is, man. And I think it's meditating. I think it's meditating. I think it's just meditating and just spending time with yourself and really getting to know yourself. And I've been doing that since my daughter was born, right? Like I was a mess before that, and then my daughter got me back on track. Started meditating and starting adopting all of these amazing habits, and started to invest a lot of time with myself and getting to know me and getting to feel how it feels to be me and all of that. And I just think that that is the key to knowing what you want. For anyone out there listening who might be struggling with that.
So I agree. I mean, I agree. I had a similar experience. I was much older than 18. I was 33, where I was a bit of a mess at that time, and I had I had some life decisions to make, and I chose to move on from the lifestyle that I was living and put much more focus in on myself and my spirituality. And that's when I also began meditating and listening and journaling and understanding what was going on with me, why I acted certain ways. It wasn't all about me figuring it out. I had a lot of help. My wife's support, who started her own journey well before that. But yeah, you're right. I think that when I quiet my mind, the answers come.
Yeah, and everything is there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to explain that just because I don't think I have the vocabulary. But yeah, something like that, man.
I think the answers are always there, but is there too much noise around us or inside us to really listen, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to know what I've been doing, man? I've been doing ice baths, right? And I've been noticing this change. It's like very clear. It's like there, right? So I don't get triggered at all, right? So I every time I go to my mother's house and my tios are there, my uncles are there, I get triggered like a lot, right? And I don't react. But now that I've been doing ice baths, man, I have a cooler, like a big cooler that I bought, and I fill it up with water, and I jump in it every single morning at 4:30 a.m. That's the first thing that I do, and it's very scary, but I do it anyway. And the number one thing that I've been noticing is that I don't get triggered. Like I just see everything, and then I'm like just taking it all in, not reacting, and then just choosing how I want to respond. I can actually think instead of getting triggered and reacting. I can actually think, and nothing makes me mad anymore. And I'm just really calm. It's really it's weird, but I know it's that because I stopped doing it for a week, and then that came back, right? So just wanted to throw that out there. Hello, modern kings and queens. I'm sorry for the interruption. I know you're enjoying the episode, but I have something super important that you must listen to. If you've been following this podcast for a while now, it's because of one of two reasons. Number one, you aspire to have it all, to unlock your potential across all areas of your life and achieve true freedom physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and of course, financially. And or number two, you're a real estate investor or an aspiring real estate investor who has chosen to use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle to achieve financial freedom. My mission as part of the Modern Kings and Queens movement is to help as many people as I can achieve financial freedom using the vehicle of real estate. And I believe that networking can be an incredibly powerful tool to help you unlock your potential across all areas, but more importantly, financially. More specifically, in real estate. I believe that in real estate, your net worth is your network. This is why I created the 4-step capital raising networking system to help real estate investors propel their growth by using a reliable system that will consistently help them connect with their ideal investors, build trust, add value, get their investors to promote them and put them in front of more investors, and raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way so that they can become successful, not only financially, but across all areas of their life. If this is something that you want, and this is something that you're interested in, click the link below to gain access to a training that will explain the 4 steps to building a high leverage network that you can use to raise millions of dollars in capital, propel your growth in real estate, and achieve financial freedom in a much more effortless way so that you can have more time and energy to pour into every single other area of your life so that you can become successful, not only financially, but across all areas of your life. In this training, you will learn 4 things. Number 1, aligned connections. I'll show you how to network effectively and how to make sure that your networking efforts work by leveraging a secret, little known concept called the cloak track. Number 2, networking tool. I'm gonna reveal to you a secret networking tool that the top 5% of successful real estate investors use to become successful. And I'm gonna show you how you can use it too to become successful and get out of that 95% of real estate investors that don't really make it. 3, high status communication. In order for someone to invest in you, they have to feel like they know you, like you, and trust you. A lot of people can communicate, but very few can connect. High status communication will allow you to build trust and add value in a way that will make people feel like they know you, like you, and trust you for years in a time span of 30 minutes. And lastly, the 4th thing is the attention multiplication machine. The world doesn't run on oil anymore. It runs on attention. And this last thing, the attention multiplication machine, will show you how to get wealthy investors to promote you and put you in front of more wealthy investors so that you can raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way. So if this is something that interests you, click the link below to go watch the training. Make sure you stay all the way to the end. If you find value and you want to book a call to talk about how you can get this completely offhand system, completely done for you system, implemented for you in the next 5 days. So click the link below. I'll see you on the other side. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of your episode. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And to go back to the conversation, man. So you graduated with a finance major, but you didn't pursue finance. Is there any reason why?
I think it has to do with an uncharted path, right? So I did an internship for UBS. There was an old company called Payne Weber, which was a financial firm that merged with UBS, and it was called UBS Payne Weber at the time. I interned for them, and I figured I would just get some sort of a finance job in Manhattan. But what happened was, there was this young woman who was in some of my finance classes. She was a marshal of the finance school, which meant she got was one of the top performers, probably from a GPA perspective, and it was an honor during graduation. And she wore like a special neck thing, and I heard that she got a job for GE Capital at the time, making like $50,000 for the year. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, like I was not like the best student in college, right? I had other priorities, and I was like, this girl who's worked her butt off, she's the best, was making that. I mean, I put myself through school, and I was like, there's no way that I can move to Manhattan with college loans. Yeah, so I chose, the other opportunity, right? The door opened and I took it. I didn't really know much about mortgages. In a way, it was a finance job. I mean, it's mortgage finance, has to do with financing, but I didn't have to call upon. I didn't learn about mortgages in college. I'll say that, right? Not too much. So it was really just a door opened, and so I chose to walk through it because I thought that it was a better opportunity for me at the time.
Mortgages. So you started the mortgages company along with your partner. I think you mentioned you bought a house, and then that turned into I think more than 1,000 houses. And I'm always saying, like, I really believe in networking. Key people have come into my life, and like looking back, I'm like, damn, that was that. Like at that point was when I came here, and then there was another point in which brought me a little bit more up and all of that. So you're one connection away from like changing the entire direction of your life. You met that through connection. You met that successful entrepreneur who had built a mortgage business and sold it, and now was going to build another one, and you had the opportunity to partner with him, right? So
it was a different gentleman. So that was the guy that got me into mortgages, and I did mortgages. You gave me 75 seconds, and I'm a bit of a talker. So I said to myself, all right, I really got to keep it concise in some bullet points. Through networking, through staying on your theme of networking, I met another individual around my age in Michigan who was selling real estate while I was financing real estate. We both were successful at our own individual paths in the
Mm-hmm.
business and became friends because of that mutual success. In your early 20s, I quickly was doing better financially than a lot of my friends from college. And so while I still, spent a lot of time with my friends, I didn't feel comfortable talking about that to them. I didn't want to seem boastful or anything like that. So this gentleman, this guy and I had that in common. We had a lot to talk about, commonalities there, hard work and ambition. He and I decided to get into some real estate investing together. So bought a house, fixed it up, sold it, bought two more with the money we got, did the same thing, sold those two, bought four more, and literally just organically created this operation that was buying and selling a couple hundred houses a year.
And you did that on the side, or did you eventually go full time on that?
I went into we just started doing that full time in 2010. The global financial crisis happened back then, and it was really hard to write, or if not impossible, to write a mortgage.
Yeah.
So we had done a handful of properties kind of as a side hustle, and when it was impossible to sell for him to sell a property and for me to write a mortgage, we jumped full time in the property business.
Mm. And then at what point did you decide to go into multifamily?
So he and I worked together until about 2015, and that partnership kind of just ran its course. I moved on and did more single family work for another year and a half. I probably did another like 800 houses in like a 12-18 month period, and felt very tired. My wife and um, uh, I had done a big project and that kind of came to an end. So my wife and I and our two daughters, we traveled. We traveled probably 4 months out of this was 2016. We traveled for 4 months intermittently throughout the year, and my wife and I kind of charted what is our next path. What do we want to do? We did a lot of um, visioning and meditating. Um, my wife is highly intuitive and really put out into the universe what is it that we want for the next phase of our journey. Um, and one thing that the properties, it was great money, but it was also, it was like I buy a house, fix it up, sell it, earn the cash. It was regular normal income. There was no
A
because it
job,
was
yeah.
yeah, it was a short turnaround time. I wasn't owning them for a year, so I couldn't benefit from capital gains. Um, and then at the end of the year, the new year started. I had to start all over, right? There wasn't any recurring income associated with it. So it's like, how do we adjust our current business model um, to allow for wealth creation, passive or ongoing cash flow, as well as um, appreciation over the long term. And I felt that from a scale perspective, getting into multifamily was the next logical transition of my career path based on my expertise.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what came out of all of that work and visioning and such that I mentioned, and um, so we jumped in 2017.
So in 2017, you jumped into multifamily. Today, like, what year are we in? 2023. That's what, 6 years?
6 years, yeah.
And in 2017, did you immediately set that goal to go for 8,000 units, or did that goal came a little bit further down the road?
I felt like 10,000 units was the ultimate idea. And I wanted to create a goal that seemed like a stretch goal at the time, but a realistic stretch goal. And so 5,000 units in 5 years at the time when I had 0 units
Seemed like something very big,
seemed
right?
like something very big. Exactly. So it was a 5 year goal of 5,000 units.
All right. So and then in 6 years, you're now at 8,000, right? Which is a value of a little bit over 1 billion, I would
A
guess.
billion, yeah, over a billion. So we bought 7,800 units, and we've sold about 1,800 of them also. So we're around. I'm sitting on around 6,000 units, or about a value of just over a billion.
$1 billion in assets under management. So, um, before I go like into the details of how you were able to do that, Gideon, I wanna like talk about some um, like 3,000 foot view, high level principles that right that we're able to take there. Obviously, one of the first principle was setting a goal, right? Like
Yeah,
setting a goal, because when you set a goal and you know for what you're for, like what's the goal and you know where you're going, opportunities seem to come from everywhere
right.
that will propel you there, right? So for example, even if you are going to invest in your first property, there's a lot of the people who listen to this podcast are real estate investors, right? Some of them are active, some of them are passive, others don't know yet, right? However, every single person that listens to this podcast has taken a choice, and that's to use real estate as their wealth creation vehicle. And some people that are listening are just looking to invest in their first deal, in their first property, and having a clear goal. For example, having a clear amount of money that they need to save for the down payment helps, right? Because all of a sudden, you get opportunities to make more money that will get you closer to that goal. That not only that don't just come from your job or something like that. So I would like to guess that one of the first principles that helped you achieve that such a big goal in such a short period of time is, well, having a goal, right? And
100%.
apart from that, what else? Like, what are other things, key principles that you think allowed you to get there?
Um, so a principle is to me feels like, it's like a bullet point, or a pillar, like a visual person, where, so goals, having goals, I can see that as a principle. For me, it's persistence, right? Like the ambition and persistence to, like you said, you wake up at 4:30 every morning and jump in the cold tub. Well, waking up at 4:30 is something that I do as well. I don't do it perfectly, but when in times of growth, in times of heightened ambition and achievement, um, I can't sleep. I mean, I can sleep, but I wake up and I'm excited to hit the day.
Yeah,
I'm not hitting the snooze button. Um, so that ambition and persistence, um, and being focused on that goal. I also think being transparent and honest. Um, I think that people can pick up when somebody is genuine or disingenuous, and so I learned from mistakes of the past that, I need to be candid with people. I need to be honest. I need to tell people um, the truth, no matter what, even if I think that they won't give me what I want.
yeah,
Because what that does is that weeds out any um, incompatibility or misalignment with people that I'm going to do business with. People need to be 100%. I need to be transparent. People need to know exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And if they're on board, great. And if they're not, then I say next and I move on to the next person, or group. And that way I don't have to operate um, in a way that's not, aligned with who I am, right? And I don't have to have secrets or anything like that. So, um, yeah, there's the having a goal, the persistence to follow the goal, um, and being, honesty and transparency. I think were probably like the biggest principles for me.
and I'm glad you mentioned that because I know that that is your superpower, right? And those two things, transparency and trust, which honesty builds trust,
Yeah,
have been two very big determining factors for your success. Transparency and trust. Not only that, they're like your superpower. So you know, you seem to be very good at that, which is really hard to be real with yourself, right? Like the person that we tell the most lies to is ourselves. Um, so how do you cultivate that, Gideon? How do you cultivate honesty and transparency? First of all, with yourself, because if you can't be that with yourself, well, you can't be that with anybody else.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, I think that for me, it took a lot of trial and error and mistakes to get to a place where I could really get comfortable with myself. There's a difference between being a confident person, um, or showing confidence on the outside, but really being self-confident on the inside.
Mm.
I'm wired in a way where I really care about what other people think of me. Um, and that need for approval of others, whether they knew me or were strangers, really drove decision making in my world. And the fear of not getting what I want also drove decisions, not the best decisions in my life, right? But when I drill down to, like, why do I fear not having stuff, right? Not getting what I want. Why do I fear people not approving of me or liking me? At my core, what I learn over time with in programming and in therapy and reading and prayer and meditation, I realized that at the end, I'm human, and ultimately I want to be loved.
Loved. Yeah.
So if that's what I'm seeking, what happens is a bunch of dirt and crap piles on top of that, which is like the belief that somebody won't love me if I don't have nice stuff. Somebody won't
Yeah.
love me or will abandon me if I don't have the nicest car, the biggest boat, or the best watch, if I'm unsuccessful in my own perception, and then I feel bad about myself, right? So it's all kind of interwoven, to just my ultimate core need of wanting to feel loved. Um, when I was able to get to a place where I realized that I am loved and I'm worthy of love,
Damn, that's
then
crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
It's just
then I can get to a place where it's okay if I don't have all that awesome stuff. And when I don't care if I have it, and I'm just going out to be the best version of myself, whether it be in business or as a husband, as a father, as a businessman, as a whatever, that stuff ends up just coming. You know what I mean?
team,
Because I've,
get
I've
those last
detached
two
from that
minutes
outcome.
on a clip. Yeah, like that's little the key, right? When you don't need to get out there to work hard to get all of that stuff, right? Because like you need to validate yourself and to validate
Right.
your self-worth, but you just like you let go of that and you detach your self-worth from your net worth, and then you go and play the game because of the love of the game, not because of the things that it's going to bring you. You play the game a lot better.
100%. 100%. It's like, I used to take sales training, um, and they used to say, a couple things. So two that stick out for this topic is, like, one, sell like you got $1 million in the bank, right? Like, which means is you don't sell like you don't need the sale, because people
Yeah.
can pick up on it when you need it. And two is, don't count the money until it's in the bank, right? Which I used to do as a young salesman, because things don't actually, I can go have a great conversation with somebody and then go celebrate the win, and they don't ever intend to do business with me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like, sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but the point is that if I can detach from, it's great to have lofty goals. The challenge for me was to get to a place where I could detach from that outcome and know that I'm still worthy,
Hmm.
worthy of love, worthy of companionship. I think that a big part of that is, like, I need to know that for myself. It also makes my life easier because I've got an amazing partner and wife, who's been with me from the beginning when we had nothing, and who would still be with me if we have nothing, whether we go up or down or in the middle. you know, our connection is not because of, you know, the net worth. Our connection
Yeah.
is much deeper than that. That gives me, the confidence, and fortitude um, to sell like I don't need the sale, as well as to handle and, weather unpredictable periods of time. Right now is a challenging time in the marketplace, right? Whether you've got 6 units, 60 units, 600 or 6,000 units, it's harder to buy properties. Some of the properties that we have are not worth what they used to be because interest rates are higher. You know, it's uh, it's different than it has been over the last 10 years, you know, because markets are cyclical and now we're kind of in the trough period. There's going to be a lot of opportunities as we come out of that trough period, but you know, there's a bit of a storm going on, and you know, in my world, knowing that I can go home and my wife and my children care and love about me, not about anything that's going on at, you know, the office, gives me such peace when I'm dealing with things that I'd prefer to be different.
Damn, those like the past 5 minutes have been literally the key to fulfillment, right? I talk about
Yeah.
success, happiness, and fulfillment, right? Like I said that at the beginning of the podcast, because those are the three things that everyone is looking for. However, most entrepreneurs are running on the track of success, really looking for fulfillment, right? So what they're really
Mm,
looking for is happiness and fulfillment, but they're running a race in the track of success.
yeah.
You see, in the achievements.
So it's like
So
a
they
hamster wheel.
exactly, and they think that the more they achieve, the more happy and fulfilled they will be. But happiness and fulfillment doesn't come with material stuff, right? It comes from like from like a purpose, like you know.
A mentor of mine, he and I joke, you know, the truth is that money is not everything, and it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, that's just the bottom line. So like somebody might hear us talking and be like, well, that sounds all good, but I know that, you know, this would be better or this would be easier if I had more cash. And then that could be true. But I've also lived the life of, um, in my earlier career and in my 20s and early 30s, being like, if I only had this, I'd be happy. And then I'd achieve
got
it.
it. Yeah,
And then it'd be like the next thing. Well, if I only have that, then I'll be happy. And I'd get it, and I still was not happy. Things were getting worse. And what in my story, what I started doing was I started um, acting out because I couldn't fulfill this hole that was inside me, right? So like I started drinking more, I started staying out more, um, and you know, really developed a problem with like alcohol because I was drinking to satisfy something that I didn't really know what it was. I was working my butt off. I was achieving financial success on the outside. I had a young family, a beautiful wife, children, a house, a couple cars. I was doing it, you know, I was doing everything that I always thought that I wanted to achieve and more. And it was the nice stuff. Like I had the nice cars and I had the nice clothes and I opened up a restaurant so I could be in front of everybody and be like somebody that people knew. Um, and I was miserable on the inside. You know, I had to. So it was right around the time I was 33. I realized through a chain of events that I had a common denominator of a lot of my bad choices and issues that had to do with alcohol, and I chose to give that up, and started learning. Got into a program that taught me about um, the fact that uh, there's a power in the universe that's greater than myself,
mm-hmm.
right? And once I was able to develop a relationship with something that was um, uh, whether you want to call it a god or a higher power or the universe or whatever it might be. I was told that I just need to find my own perception of one. It doesn't need to be anybody else's, which I liked. Um, and uh, and that it couldn't be me, right? Because up until that point, I was acting like the center of the universe.
Yeah, yeah, with arrogance, right?
Yeah, and then the journey began with all this other stuff that I was talking about, right? And for me, it's been a journey. It still is. And what we mentioned before, like having those goals and detaching from the outcome was a very hard, but profound thing to learn and to put into practice.
Hello, morning kings and queens. At my company, Millionaire Network Automation, we believe in the power of networking. We believe that in real estate, your net worth is your network. This is why we help real estate investors raise capital by connecting them with their ideal investors and helping them build a massive network of their ideal investors in less than 30 days and with only 4 hours of work per week. If you're interested in this, click the link below in the description of this podcast to learn how you can propel your growth with a reliable system that will consistently help you connect with your ideal investors, build trust, add value, get your investors to promote you and put you in front of more of their investor friends, and raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way so that you can achieve your financial freedom and still have the time and the energy to pour into every single other area of your life. So go watch the training, and you're going to have the opportunity to book a call to talk about how you can get this 100% done for you system implemented in the next 5 days. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later, and enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
You know what I struggle with, Gideon? I struggle with humility, man. But it's
Yeah.
not that I'm not humble. People just see me and think that I'm not, right? Like
So you struggle with humility because people don't think you're humble?
well, like I'm not perceived as a humble person, but like in my heart, I think I have a noble and humble heart, right? But like people don't perceive me as a humble person. I actually had a talk with my neighbor. I have a house in Mexico, and my neighbor, right? I had a talk with her. She, I went and sit down, and she told me that she thought, and she had a perception of me as someone who was prepotent. I don't know if that's how you said it in English. An arrogant kid, right? Who like, because she's on me like tall, and I'm a little bit jacked, right? And in my car and everything, and she thought of me like that. And then she told me, but now that you're talking here with me and you're here, just having a conversation, I realize that you're not. But you gotta be very careful, she told me, because like any person who sees you might think that as well, right?
Well, yes, and I think that other people bring their own experiences and head trash to any situation, right? Like
That as well.
you might be young and you might have a really nice car, and you might pull up with fancy sunglasses and a nice car, and that person's experience will cloud. We all judge people, right? Somebody walks through the doors and they're judged by how they look, how they speak, whatever, but that's all a factor of the judgeor's past experiences, right?
Mm,
I have chosen I mean, I like nice things. I like nice clothing. I like nice cars. I believe that um, if I'm putting money away, if I'm building wealth, if I'm saving for my children, I don't need to wait until some arbitrary number like year 65 to go and enjoy the money that I've created. I can enjoy it now, and um, it's all about balance for me, right? But what I do is I know, and I teach my children that it doesn't matter how much somebody has to create for them to have value. It doesn't make us better if we have more. It doesn't make us worse if we have less. Um, and I don't try to push it in people's faces, right? I don't go out talking about my successes. If people have a question or an ask, or they've heard, that's great. But I my humility is just being the best version of myself and not trying to make other people feel bad about my success, right? And also being gracious to help and pay it forward. If I can be of service, I'm going to be of service, right? And so I don't know you that well, but I don't think you have. It doesn't seem like you have a problem with humility. I mean, it seems like you're out there to try and help people, and you've had some sort of a spiritual experience early on in your life, and you've had a vision, and you're following that path, and you want to bring as many people along with you as you can. I think that's amazing.
that's exactly it. Yeah. So yeah, well, thanks. And now to come back to real estate. Well, we've been talking about the principles and the things that are needed to be successful, not only in
Yeah.
real estate but in life and in any other business model. Um, so to be able to get to like 6,000, 8,000 units, well, you need a couple of things, right? Like you need to find deals, you need to underwrite, you need to analyze, you need to raise capital, operate. So and all of that, from all of that, and in the journey, what have you seen be like your main thing? Yeah. Like the thing that you focus on or that you are specialized in.
Can you ask me the question in a different way? Like you said, what is my main thing? Like I heard you. Um, I mean, I think I'm not sure if I'll answer your question directly, but let me say this: to go from 0 to 8,000, there's a lot in between, right?
Yeah.
So what I chose was I knew that I wanted to buy thousands of units. I didn't want to buy
10.
smaller, 10 at a time. But I knew that I couldn't do that by myself. So I assembled a team. I reached out to one gentleman who I'd become friends with, who had a much higher net worth than myself. He was 20 years older than me, and I said, I'd like to build a portfolio of 10,000 apartment units. Would you consider being my partner? He put me in touch with another guy around that same older age who had been a part of a real estate partnership, had bought about 1,600 units, and that partnership came to an end. He had like a following of smaller investors, and so what we saw in each other was, I was the guy to find deals and to manage the deals. I had a partner who had a network of potential investors and a high net worth, because you need a partner or somebody a high net worth to sign on larger mortgages. And then I had this third future partner who had a following of investors. So right then and there, it was like if I found a deal, we could get the loan, and we had people to pitch the deal to, an investor. So we did a deal together. Our first deal was 64 units. We bought it in like April 2017, and it worked well. Because I was like, let's go buy 10,000 units. And they're like, how about we buy one deal and see how it goes, right? Like
Yeah.
they're like, slow down, slow down. So we bought 64, and then we created a company called GSH Group. And then we went out and I found another deal, which was bigger, 320 units. And, got the mortgage. My partner who had the investors brought the investors, and it was all from there. So you have to figure out, like, what does the recipe look like? What do you need to be able to achieve a deal or multiple deals? And are you capable of putting it together on your own? Do you need help? And what will that help cost you? Right. In the beginning of my multifamily journey, it cost me percentage of the overall deal, right? So I was willing to take a lesser percentage than 100 in my real estate deals in order to gain scale quicker,
Yeah.
right? And so I think the biggest, I think, I don't know, I don't think there's one. I'm sorry, because you asked me, like, what's the one thing? Maybe like being realistic about what I'm capable of performing on my own when I'm starting off, and then making decisions accordingly, right? Because I could have probably bought a house and then another house and then another house, and built a portfolio organically, um, like that, and I chose a different path.
Yeah, I like that, which goes back to being real with yourself, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're able to be real with yourself and you're like, oh, I'm not by myself capable of going and getting 10,000, 8,000 units in the next 6 years. Well, then I need a team, right? So
yeah,
yeah, right. So being able to um analyze yourself and be true to yourself and to your abilities, right? And to your limits. Not that we have any, but to be knowledge, well, not, let's see, aware of those things,
yeah. I was
right?
aware of the realities of this snapshot in time, right? So, like, I heard you say, not that we have any, right? Like, no, we don't. I don't think any of us have limits, but we are limited by circumstances today, right? So, like, where am I today versus where is my vision of me 5 years from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my capabilities today are going to be different than my capabilities are 5 years from now, just like they were. I'm probably have better capabilities today than I did 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
In all things. So being real with where I am at the time and being strategic about maximizing what I've got access to today to ultimately achieve my goal.
You want to know something funny, man? Like
What's that?
2 years ago, I said a goal. I wrote a goal that I wanted 40,000 units, right? In like 10 years. 2 years ago, right? So there's 8 left. I haven't been directly working on gaining any units, but now that I look back on my journey, man, it's been like unconscious work. Like I'm just like for some reason following the right path, and it's like it's not me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not
Yeah.
like I'm thinking I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this. It's been working.
Yeah, I mean, it does work. It, I really believe in, you set intentions, you put it out there in multiple ways to the universe, and it's going to come back to you. It might not come back to you the way that you perceive it, right? Like maybe, when you wrote that goal, it was 40,000 units that you directly own, but you're already on the path and maybe you've just invested in a bunch of units. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
My wife always, you know, suggests that not only do I put out goals, but I put out specific goals,
Yeah.
right? Because the universe will return goals to me in a different type of way, but it always will. If I set intentions, it's always going to come back to me one way or the other.
And then I have this thing called the um mental pathway programming, right? So I have like my vision board, my values, my goals, and then my Wikipedia page. So I actually took some time to write what will my Wikipedia page say in the next 10 to 15 years when someone goes on Google and searches my name. I took the time
Nice.
to write all of that down, and then I go through it every single morning. I stopped doing it like 3 months ago, but like it just programs me. So what I'm trying to say is like the past 3 years have been literally been ran by my unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been conscious. Well, yeah, I have, but now that I think about it, it hasn't been me. It has been something else. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So it's really
You
cool.
know, my 5,000 units in 5 years goal in my mind was like 1,000 units a year, right?
Uh huh.
1,000
Yeah,
units a year.
didn't
So
happen that way.
no, I mean, no, it didn't happen. Well, I ended up buying 8,000 units, so it snowballed. But in the first 12 months, 64 units, I wrote it down. 64 units, 320 units, 408 units, 266 units. That's 1,058 units,
Uh huh.
right? It just and so I bought 64 units. The next deal was 320, and one of the brokers on that deal, because they didn't know who we were new, right? And it's
Yeah.
hard to like break in and have brokers always go with a sure thing, but they kind of like also want to develop a new relationship. But one of the brokers on that deal, I didn't know that at the time when I went after it, was the father of a guy that used to work for me in my single family days. So he was able to say to the rest of the team, I know this guy, he's done big stuff, right?
Yeah.
Boom, 320 units, right? Then the next deal was a deal that we went after and we didn't get it. But the group that did get it started renegotiating the terms as soon as they were awarded the deal, and the seller said forget it, and they went to the second place team, which was me, and we got
Yeah.
that deal, right? So like it just the universe provided. I mean, it showed up for me.
It always does, right? For everyone.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um.
and when it doesn't, in terms of like what I think that I want, there's always like there's always something that comes around the corner that's better.
Uh huh. And that whatever it is didn't work prepared you for that other thing that will work that is probably bigger.
Exactly.
So, man, you mentioned a recipe. So, like in your
Yeah.
own words, for anyone out there who wants to pursue a goal as big as 8,000 units, 10,000 units, right, in a certain amount of time, what would you say, in your experience, in your own words, the recipe to achieve that would be? Like, what pieces do you need in your team? What? Yeah, yeah. I think it all comes down to your team, right? But so,
Yeah, yeah. So you mean like from a like granularly, what does the team need to look like when you get
mm-hmm,
started? Is that what you mean?
yeah,
So when I started, I was the guy finding the deals. I was reaching out to brokers or owners. But I'm not the savviest in analytics or spreadsheeting. I mean, I know my way around a spreadsheet, but I'm not one who's going to create a pro forma. So I went to Upwork and found a like kind of a part-time person who could just do underwriting for me. In my single family days, I used a lot of virtual workers, in terms for things. So I'm very much a virtual type of office person. I don't need to have a full-time office. I mean, I do now, but I didn't need to have a full-time office doing stuff. I just needed people on call. So I needed to be looking for deals, somebody who could analyze the deal. I needed, an accountant or bookkeeper, to keep track of my money, what I'm spending, and I needed kind of like a graphic designer to make it look pretty if I found a deal that I wanted to raise money around. I also need to understand my financial position and if I'm going to be able to purchase properties, if I'm going to be able to borrow debt, even
Yeah.
if it's not non-recourse debt. I need to see if I have access to somebody who can provide balance sheet support if I need balance sheet support, who can help me introduce me to investors. And, in starting out, I already had some money and I had experience because I did so many houses. So I think the most important piece if you're starting out and you don't have that type of experience, like some do, is getting the experience and giving up something to partner with people who had the experience, right? So I may have done 3,000 houses, but I hadn't done any multifamily, right? So I chose a property manager who was managing 15,000 apartment units, so I could go to my equity or my lenders and say, no, I'm relatively new at this, but I've done 3,000 units, just not multifamily, but I'm working with an expert. The property management company is managing tens of thousands of this type of stuff. So I partnered with groups that provided what I didn't have and made it look like and basically assemble the team, right? So you might not have any residential investment experience, but you might have the eagerness and willingness to, do what it takes to go out and find properties. So then what do you need? You probably need somebody who's interested in the, hey, Mr. So-and-so, if I find a deal that makes sense for all of us, would you like to partner on that deal with me? Would you like to, could you potentially provide your balance sheet, or could you help introduce me to some investors? So I would say that if I'm getting started, I need to figure out what my team looks like, who's going to manage it, what are investors going to ask, right? And I need to have answers for all of that. And typically investors are going to be like, what's your experience? So it's either my experience or my team's experience. Who's going to manage it? So I got to have that question answered. If I don't have experience in managing properties, a suitable answer is not, I'm going to manage it, because I don't have experience doing it. So it's like, I'm going to use this reputable company who knows the market and does this for a living. So, set up and create those relationships. And how do you do that? Right, Alex? How do you create those relationships?
Well, by
Networking.
networking, talking to people. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, we have a couple of minutes left, Gideon. I've really enjoyed this talk, this conversation, and I have had the privilege to have over 250 of these conversations, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And this has been one of my favorite ones, man.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
really kind.
So, for some reason, I mean, what we talked about, I don't know. Like, I just feel good. Thank you, man.
You
And
got it.
for anyone who may want to, well, do you have, so like I said, there people who listen to this podcast are active. Some of them are passive, right? Their way to getting into the active side is by investing passively first. So do you have any message or any special thing that you may want to share with them?
Like something I'm working on, or like
Yeah,
an
maybe.
opportunity type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are more of a passive investor, who are looking scouring the earth for opportunities. Right now, we're raising for a few different opportunities. We've got a senior living deal that we purchased in Massachusetts that we're syndicating a little bit of our money. We already own it. We've got a new property in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, which is a very, very affluent market in Michigan, where we bought an old school administration building that we're converting to apartments. And then we've got a couple properties that suffered from inability to evict. We bought in 2021, 2022. We had problems with evictions. We're raising some extra capital for those deals. Those deals are kind of like a preferred equity investment. We're offering really high preferred return, 15% preferred return, 15% equity kicker, targeting above a 20% IRR for an 18-month hold on those deals. So we've got stuff to talk about. If anybody's an accredited investor and interested, please feel free to send me an email. Go to my website, www.gshrealestate.com, or email me at gideon@gshrealestate.com, gideon@gshrealestate.com.
Awesome. And is there any so some people are looking for cash flow, some people are looking to grow their money on the long term, and different kinds of investors have different kinds of needs, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of investor would you say you like to work with, or they like to work with you?
Up until this point, most of our investors are more like income approach investors who like to get in and get cash flow on a quarterly basis. And I just see the market at the moment more opportunistic. You've got to kind of find a property, elevate it, find a property, convert it to apartments, whatever, like I mentioned, and there'll be great cash flow a year or two from now. But most of my stuff is more creating value, or waiting on the back end to really make the score. I'm having a hard time finding stuff that hit the ground running at a high cash on cash return.
Okay. Well, we'll put all of your social media, your contact info that you just gave, wherever this podcast appears. It's going to appear everywhere. And so just in case anyone wants to connect with you, or maybe they're looking for some more information, they're interested, or maybe they would just want to say thanks, right, for the value that you provided here on this talk. And thank you very much, man. I've had a lot of fun, and well, I'll see you later.
Yeah, appreciate it, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate you, and we're super grateful about being part of your journey of becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur and having it all. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will be impacted positively. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be across all areas. And if you thought this episode was really valuable, share it on your social media as a post or a story. We have a special gift for all of those who contribute to the Modern Kings and Queens movement. So for those of you who decided to share this episode and help us spread our message, send me a message letting me know on any social media platform at Alex Ramirez, the Modern King. I have a special surprise for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.